Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to another third channel video. I am making this one from my phone because my GoPro says it has 28% battery left, but 28% now means 0, which is really awful battery degradation. But now I have to be that person talking to themselves on their phone. I could have just not made a video, but I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and let's be that awkward, strange vlogger person. Trust me, I'm just on a Zoom call or FaceTiming with the girlfriend, so you can all be my collective internet girlfriend for this video. Because something I've been thinking about a surprising amount, because, you know, like, you know, I'm here, I'm doing work, if you will, and what is work for children, going to school, and so something I thought about from school a lot is I had this teacher when I was maybe 11 or 12, and he would always ride me super hard. I feel like that might have a double meaning, but also this grass, like the grass that people use for like Minecraft maps, I've never seen this in real life. I guess like this is how fancy people do their grass, like some nice little strips going down here. So I used to have a teacher, and he would always be super rough on me, mostly about being late. I remember I'd show up like between 0 and 5 minutes late pretty frequently, like once a week, and he'd always, you know, like most teachers are fine about it. This guy's like, no, why are you late? And he'd always like, in front of everyone, like drill me on it. And I'd be like, well, I woke up late. You know, some of the streets here were blocked, or you know, like I literally couldn't leave until my mother, you know, like did this, prepared a lunch or something. And I'd always respond to my my explanation of why I was late, and he'd be like, no, you're making excuses. I'm like, no, I'm not making excuses. This is literally what happened. And he's like, well, if you woke up late, walk to school faster. If there's a diversion, maybe you can fix it. And I guess he actually was correct. It took me like an hour 15 to walk to school, something like that, I think, at the time. It might be like an hour 5, but it was like somewhere between that marker. If I'd have walked fast the entire way, then I would have made it there a lot faster, you know? And the fact that I wasn't doing that showed that I prioritized walking my current speed over the speed at the time. And the reason I thought about that is because I used to hate it so much. Like, no, these aren't excuses. This is literally a statement of fact. But yet they are still excuses. Statements of fact can be excuses. And as an example, last week I learned to drive. And unlike most people who who have the rule of like, oh, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're already late. It's like, no, if you're not 0 minutes, if you're not on time, you're already late. Though that's actually how late works in the real world, Mr. Strange Person. But something that like happened last week was I was due to meet my instructor at 9 a.m. on the dot, and so I tried to actually get there at 9 a.m. and all week I'd been meeting him about 8:57, 8:55, something like that. You know, a few minutes of breathing room, because I'll try to be earlier rather than later. But this day, I had to check out from a hotel, and as I was walking there, I realized I wouldn't make it. I realized it was 9 now. I was like a minute and a half walk away from the car. Ooh, I was going to be late. And as I got to some traffic lights, the traffic lights went red, and it's like, this adds a whole nother minute just to crossing the road to get to in case you're curious, to get to Bournemouth train station. And as I was at the traffic lights, at the red light, I was like, oh God, what if he asked me about this? And I'm gonna be like, it was the traffic lights. The reason I'm late is the traffic lights. I mean, it is technically true that they made me later, but also it's not really. The reason I was actually in the position where being a minute back actually set me back significantly is because I left the hotel later than I wanted to, because, again, I was just having an emotionally bad morning. I don't want to describe it much more than that. It's not useful for this video. But I was just slow and probably delaying things to the last minute, because it wasn't great. And so, like, oh, actually the real reason I was late is because I was like emotionally not feeling good that morning. But again, that's me that's me explaining it to you right now, and I wasn't in a great state that morning. But then if I actually try to explain it a step further, it's like, well, it wouldn't have mattered if the traffic lights turned red or if I wasn't emotionally good, which again, it's kind of my fault, but it's still less my fault. If I'd have just planned to leave an extra 5 minutes early, instead of trying to get there between 8:57 and 8:59 or whatever, it'd be better if I just planned to get there at 8:55, or be one of those insane human beings that think 15 minutes early is an acceptable time to show up anywhere. And so, yeah, actually it is my fault that I'm late, because I showed up, I left too late for it. And so, yeah, as I think through that and I explain it to all of you, it's like, yeah, actually, their excuses are real, but it doesn't mean that they are, it doesn't mean that they're not a show of intent in some way. Like, you know, something I've been thinking about a fair amount is like, if someone invites you to something you don't want to do, the only honest thing to do is to say, yeah, like, I tried to think about this for a while. What's something you don't want to do? I don't want to meet, if you invite me to meet your parents, besides like, you know, the whole like, everyone knows the whole new dating someone ritual where at some point you have to meet their family to confirm they're not either a serial killer or the family isn't filled with problems. And again, I mean, like, you actually do it because you're nice and you're trying to show them that they're not the side piece, right? But the whole like, I hate meeting parents. I hate meeting your family. I don't want to do it. Don't be like, oh, I'd love you to meet my family. No, I would hate to meet your family. I hate to break that to you, internet. I'm not, you're my internet girlfriend right here, and I'm not meeting your family, because I genuinely have had friends try to do that to me, and I have to weave out of it. And the polite thing to do, in my opinion, is tell the truth and be like, oh yeah, I just don't meet your family because I wouldn't enjoy that. But what you actually say is you say, oh, sorry, I'm busy that time, and then you allow people to kind of like fix it. You go, if they really care, it's like, oh, you're busy this Saturday, but can you maybe do like another week? Or like, again, or actually socially it's your obligation to be like, oh, I'm busy this Saturday, but we can do the week after that. If you show that you're willing to reschedule, it shows you genuinely do want to do something and you genuinely can't. And so the reason I say that is because sometimes I genuinely do believe people's explanation in that way, but it's like, I wish we would be more honest sometimes about certain things we don't want to do. I can name so many examples of this. Like I have a, like, cause we love to, what we actually do with excuses is we love to like pin something from ourselves and put it into the world as the world's blame. And so it smells very strongly of weed. I wonder why that is. But we love to take this blame from ourselves, and we love to put it out into the world in some way. And so if you have a friend, like, or let's even say a work, you know, I have not co-workers, but I have professional connections, you know, and instead of if it's like, oh yeah, I'd really like to do this thing sometime, you know, I'd love you to do this thing in exchange for that, and instead of saying yes or no, it's like, oh, I can't, you know, like I can't right now because of this thing. It's like, okay, you can't right now, but like, you know, can we get a yes or a no going? I have to keep switching hands. My arms are getting tired of holding out a phone like this. And I totally get that some things are very out there gestures to make, like the whole, if I tell you right now, like, oh, you know, you're my internet girlfriend, so I'll take you to see Buckingham Palace, because that's why people come to London. I'll show you during the course of this video. Of course that's impossible. Of course I can't just show you Buckingham. I'm not, that's, the whole UK is not actually a royal palace. And so claiming that like, oh yeah, but if I was near it, I would show you, doesn't have any value, because if I'm not near it, I'm just saying that, yeah, I would vaguely like you to be happy. Maybe that's nice. But like, people have this sort of thing all the time where it's like, please just, rather than having like some excuse get in the way, work out how to deal with your excuse and then tell me that, or tell me you can't do the thing. I don't know. I've moved to London recently, so there's a 40-something minute train ride involved if you want to come, you know, hang out and things for the weekend now. And yeah, so there's a lengthy train ride involved. It's a thing, right? And so yeah, it's sorry, I got a phone call, messed me up. Because I'm using my phone, and the phone was also a device so people can contact you at any point in time. Life is hell, let me tell you. But I bet there's a way more shake on this, because the GoPro stabilization isn't turned on. That was a parakeets in London, and that's the first time I've seen one, the famous one. What is it called? Hyde Park. Anyway, so like, you know, if it's like, oh yeah, I would love to help you. I don't know, I have a friend who's like, yeah, I'll let you borrow my power washer, I just can't this thing. It's like, you can just tell me it's you don't want to deal with that, like maybe the drive is too much, or like I have someone who I'm like, oh yeah, I'll pay you. Yeah, they're complaining about money a lot, and I'm like, I really need people to do basic tasks. I'll pay you X amount, with X being quite large. If you can just, you know, paint some rooms in my house. I've got a lot of painting that needs done, and they claim to love the idea. And it's like, well, if you just say, oh, I can't right now because of this, it's like, okay, when can you? Let's like, let's work it out, you know? Instead of so many times people won't say like, oh yeah, I'd love to, but X, but then I can fix X. It's like, but X is unsolvable. There is literally no, you know, like, I would love to make another server video, but I don't have like a server that can do that. I mean, and like I've got a, you know, like someone's, I have to reach out something. It's like, well, maybe find someone who, you know, like I know the server owners to speak to. I know that if I give them a compelling enough message, they will give me a server, and then I can find someone who will set the things up on the server and they'll do it. If I just say, yeah, I don't have that, it's an excuse. It's the simple explanation. And at that point, why isn't it more polite just to say, there are more important things going on, right? Look at this to me. I'm gonna, this video is switching to Toy Cat Feeds Squirrels. Okay, I lied. That's the cool thing about is they have a much higher tolerance for humans, because they encounter them so often. And most humans don't care about animals, like good or bad. They just don't notice them. Anyway, so like, I guess it comes into this gesture thing that I think about a lot, that like, everyone always has these grand ideas for like, I don't know why this irritated me so much, but someone was like, oh yeah, I need you to, someone who had made the same thing if like, oh yeah, like, sorry, I can't afford this right now, was like, oh yeah, so you need to be this place, and the train cost was astronomical. It was £100 return for a ticket. And I was like, oh yeah, if I just show up an hour later, then it'll be, you know, I think it was like £60 for a return ticket. And it's like, yeah, that'd save me £40, so could I do that? They're like, I would pay the £40 if I could, but I can't, so please can you do it? And it's like, well, saying that you would if you could if you would isn't saying anything. That's saying that I have chosen financially to spend my resources elsewhere, and so I would like you to spend your financial resources that I don't have direct control of also to benefit my aims. And I know why that annoys me so much. Like everyone has this plan of like, oh yeah, well, the thing is, if I was a billionaire, then I would be feeding the homeless. I can't believe the people are not doing that. That proves they are evil human beings, because if I could, I would. And it's like, well, you know, it's not impossible. Like, I actually think that's like a political, one of those like actual divides. Do you think there is a humanly possible way for you to go from where you are to whatever elite position that you might be fighting against? And, you know, the truth is it happens all the time. Can it happen for you? Or is it just that it requires a lot of steps you really don't want to do? I don't know, as an example, I could work an extra 20 hours in a week and have more money. I don't know how productive most of those hours would be, but I know there is I think about this all the time when I have a busy work week, of like, yeah, I could do more. And then I could spend, like, and then the reason I don't do that is because, like, I value my free time more than the money would buy me things to make it better. Or like, I at least want to have some semblance of sanity rather than ruining my 20s at the expense of money. And that's like, oh, so actually, rather than donating, I don't know, pick a number, £10,000 a year, a month, a day to the homeless, you choose your own personal sanity. At some point, yeah, actually, you are choosing. It's really cruel when you work it out, but like to some extent, it's true. Yeah, you are. You know, like if you say to someone, "Yeah, I don't have money," if they ask you for some, you know, one of the weird things about growing up in your 20s is the number of people you haven't spoken to for years who are coming, like a guy I vaguely knew in high school, being like, "Yeah, can you spot me 20 quid till the end of the week?" And the first time you see it, you're like, "Oh, this is interesting that he thinks we're close enough for this." And then the more I think about it, like, it's happened to me 3 times now, by the way. Obviously, I haven't given money to people I don't know for a very long time, but I want to see what this little cafe thing sells. But I wonder what it is. But like, yeah, it's interesting because at first you think, oh, yeah, I'm like one of the, you know, the closest 10 people in their life. They're embarrassed to ask their close friends. No, what it actually is, they've burned every resource close to them. They've asked their parents, they've asked their close friends, they've even asked their distant friends. The fact that they're reaching out to you personally haven't spoken to in 8 years shows how low they've come in their borrowing money crisis. Because I later recalled that the guy who asked me, I remember like 2 years ago, how like he always had money problems, and he'd always be in like huge debts to pay off his other debts, and like could barely hold it together. Because, you know, I had a group of like car friends. He was like the car friend that always had to like have other friends pay for his fuel, so like it would like lead some irritation that way. And again, like by doing that, he was effectively having more money at his disposal, because all the money he would otherwise be spending on fuel, he could spend on the things that were giving him problems or whatever. By the way, oh, that's the first time I spotted a ghost cycle in the wild. that wasn't mine. But yeah, so what's the point in saying you can do something if you can't do something is a really jaded attitude to have, but it's also true. Maybe it's just I have too many interactions. Maybe I'm just actually a bitter old man. But just people who say, like, yeah, I would, but, you know, and it's like, well, what about the but? You know, like, at some point, almost everything is under your control. And that is an interesting debate in society, how much is under your control. There are inevitably things that aren't, but are most things under your control, or are most things not under your control, is one of those deep philosophical debates that is underlying society. Oh, by the way, just as a fun fact, maybe you can guess it, just for fun here, this actually is, maybe you can work it out now. See, I said I would. I actually didn't say I would. I should have been like, yeah, I'm gonna totally do it for you. I just can't because I'm not in that area of London. Well, actually, yeah, this is the place people come to see. Look at that. Instead of having the usual red coats, there's security staff with actual guns too. I guess those are actual guns if you really think about it. But yeah, there you go, internet. Saved your $1,000 plane trip to London. You're welcome. It's actually a really nice, like, it's kind of crazy. Like, this is even like before I lived in London, this is just one of those places you come past all the time. It's like a major, I wouldn't say it's a major interchange for travel, but like, like if you're walking through London or you're biking through London, you're gonna end up here sooner rather than later, which is why I saw that other ghost cycle for the first time. This is Buckingham Palace. You gotta say Buckingham, so people think you're American, and then they assume you're gonna tip them better, and then they treat you better. That is the way life works in European countries. Trust me, friends. That sounds sarcastic, but that actually is. Yeah, I hope you'll enjoy this video. I don't know why it's been irritating me on such a broad level recently, but I've had a lot of, like, it almost feels like it's committing falsely to a sense of I would like to do things. And it's like, if you'd like to do things so bad, have you considered doing the things? Or have you considered maybe you would like to do the things, but you would like to do other things more? And that's okay. I would love to go meet your grandparents. Like, genuinely, if it makes you happy, internet, I would meet your grandparents. There's everything else in my life I value more. I've made a geography video on too long. I mean, it's been a few days, but you get the point. I've got so many of these videos lying around that I need to edit together and put up. I love to speak about so many things. You know, I'd like to live stream more. I've been slacking on the live streams. Why am I meeting your grandparents when I could be doing any one of those things? And that's just productive wise. I could work on myself. I've been eating too much. I've been in like a real rough, eating badly. I need to be, this is actually just part of a really long, like, multi-hour walk I've been doing across London. I caught the tube very far away, and now I'm walking home very slowly. So, you know, I could be meeting your grandparents in this time, but instead I'm focusing on my health, which means actually I care more about my health than the existence of your grandparents. Isn't that messed up? I'd argue no. I'd argue it's okay, we have our own priorities, but you can argue whatever you want. Hope you'll enjoy the video. Goodbye.